Well, the polls are open in Kansas City, and the future of Kansas City from a public safety perspective is on the line today on the ballot. 6:05, good morning. It is so good to be here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So if you're on the Missouri side, the polls are open until 7 p.m. tonight for a lot of these local elections. And the biggest thing that even if you are not a Kansas City resident, you should be cheering for is the renewal of a sales tax in Kansas City to help build a downtown jail. This is a no-brainer. It has been over a decade since Kansas City has had itself a jail. What has this city been doing for the last several years? It has been sending individuals out to Vernon County and Johnson County, Missouri, because we don't have a place to hold alleged criminals in a city that has been for far too long, on a per capita basis, one of the most violent cities in America. Obviously, things got much worse during and after COVID, George Floyd, all that craziness, and we have topped homicide record after homicide record over the last 5 years. Now, is a jail downtown going to create a panacea for Kansas City? No, it's not. But it is undoubtedly a step in the right direction. And that is what Kansas Cityans will go to the polls today to do. This is not about a tax increase. This is about a renewal of a sales tax that is used for public safety infrastructure projects. Last time it was renewed, well, it went to improve a lot of the police buildings and headquarters around the city. They got that new training facility up north as well. That place is absolutely beautiful. I've been up there and spent some time there, and it is a state-of-the-art facility. Now the city wants to take about $250 million of this sales tax renewal, if it passes today, and use it to finally get themselves a jail downtown. The mayor has backed it. Now you've had a lot of people on the further left who have not backed it. Urban Council is saying, nope, we're not going to support this. Councilmen like Jonathan Duncan saying we're not going to support this. In fact, I saw Jonathan Duncan. He is a councilman in the south part of Kansas City. He tried to compare this to the stadium vote last year between the Chiefs and the Royals. And it's like, bro, that ain't it. He said here in an interview with the Kansas City Star, this tax and the construction project that is centered on is eerily similar to the stadium vote. We don't have a plan. There are no renderings. What are we building? What's it actually for? Let me answer those questions for you, genius. Okay? There's a plan to build a jail. A jail does not need renderings. I don't need to know every square foot of the jail. I don't plan to ever be there. If I end up there, something went wrong. Or I'm bailing out John or Mark, one or the other. I don't need a rendering for a jail. And if you want to know what a jail is actually used for, I suppose I could help you with that, but I also could have my 6-year-old help you with that as well. I got a councilman asking the Kansas City Star a rhetorical question, what is it actually for? Well, this jail is this place. I know we've been kind of out of the loop on these things over the last decade in Kansas City, but the jail is the place where allegedly bad people go for a short period of time to keep them away from other people who they may be committing crimes against. That's the purpose of a jail, Mr. Councilman. And now, with the election of these individuals, you know how the city gets to a place like this where council members ask questions out loud of the Kansas City Star like, what is the jail that we want to build actually for? I believe this thing is going to pass. I think it's going to pass, and I think it will be passing with relative ease. And I look forward to it passing today. It will be a new day for Kansas City.
Perhaps you can excuse the councilman. He grew up when Gene Peters Baker was the prosecutor, so maybe there's a little bit of reason there for him not knowing.
You know, that's a good point about Jonathan Duncan. I suppose anybody in Kansas City who grew up in the Gene Peters Baker era of her as the prosecutor, needs to be given and shown a little bit of grace because this whole jail thing is a new concept.
Well, luckily there's a new sheriff in town, but that's another story.
Yep, we are pulling for Melissa Johnson, and I hope that it works out well for her. Because here's the thing. We can get the jail, and it will not create a utopia in Kansas City. It will be a step in the right direction. But this is the biggest thing on the ballot today. Now, also, Kansas City public schools looking for hundreds of millions of dollars to, of course, make infrastructure improvements. That's on the ballot today as well. And our buddy Nick Haynes, Kansas City PBS, is going to be here at 7 o'clock to break down the ballot for those of you on the Missouri side. You also have general obligation bonds in Independence on the ballot, Grandview voting for city officials and a mayor, Raytown city officials, including alderman and municipal judge, north of the river, money for the Park Hill School District's building, Liberty law enforcement salaries and building has a sales tax increase on the ballot. That will be interesting. Liberty city officials, including mayor, on the ballot today. So all of that is happening on the Missouri side of the state line. Now, last night, man, what a national championship game that was between the Houston Cougars and the Florida Gators. My goodness. But this game, yes, Florida won the game 65-63. They're national champions for the first time since 2007 and the third time in program history. But I can't help but think about how the Houston Cougars let one slip away last night. You look at their last 4 possessions, they didn't get a shot off. Turnover, 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 and then on the final play of the game, they do not get a shot off down by 2 points. Now, Florida was playing incredible defense down the stretch of that game. And I didn't know how long I'd stay up to watch this thing because I'm like, if this one gets out of hand, I'm just going to check out, call it a night. I'm up past my bedtime anyway. I'm not like Mark where I stay up until 11:30 and monitor my sports bets. I just can't do it.
Even I had it on last night.
I know. Casual fans like John had the game on last night. It was that kind of a game. But, gosh, when you're Houston and you're up 12 points in the second half, and then you let it slip away, and on your last 4 possessions, you don't get a shot off, you deserve to lose the game, Mark. I'm sorry. You deserve to lose the game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what they were thinking on that last possession, just dribbling around the 3-point line, traveling almost.
Hey, you know what happened? L.J. Cryer, who's the team's leader, decided he didn't want to be the leader down the stretch.
Yeah.
That's what it came down to. Now, did you win the company pool?
I did.
Wow.
I won the company
right.
pool.
All right there, Mark.
Picked Florida. Picked the UConn women's team as well. So got both the champs.
Wow, you are on a roll, man. Nice job. So you buying us all lunch today? Is that the plan?
I guess that's on me, isn't it?
We can twist your arm after you buy yourself a new hat. You can buy us all lunch.
Yes, got to get the crown, Nebraska champions, because they won the crown the other day.
Oh, my gosh.
There you go.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I had turned the game on in the last minute. I thought, was this intramurals? Houston was like kneeing the ball out of bounds and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, they were horrible. Absolutely horrible over the last minute and a half of that game.
I was thinking the last time they had the possession, they were going to drive it and try to either make a layup or get fouled. But then they're probably thinking in their heads the possession before they just kicked it off themselves. So it's either way they were losing.
They that last possession was just an encapsulation of several awful possessions in a row by this team. It was terrible to watch that game down the stretch. I felt terrible for Houston. I was pulling for Houston. I wanted to see Kelvin Sampson, their head coach, win a championship. 69 years old, had a lot of success, and last night would have been his 800th career win. You can't ask for a better way to get career win number 800 than in the national championship. And I was pulling for the Big 12 as well.
They held Clayton to 0 points in the first
I know.
half. That was just incredible defense, and then I couldn't believe they let it slip away.
I know. It was so bad, but hey, people want to blame the refs. Do not blame the refs. Now, the refs were they called the game a lot tighter in the second half. There's no doubt about it. But it was, I would say, pretty even both ways. There was nothing overly egregious. I'm not going to blame the refs for the way that game played out. If you're Houston, you don't get a shot off on your final 4 possessions, that's on you. That's embarrassing. It's 6:15 on a Tuesday morning on KCMO. Tirade Tuesday is coming up at 8:35. Do not miss that. Now, Florida had a big win. Houston had a big loss last night. And speaking of wins and losses last night, Donald Trump had a big win, and the far left had a big loss. And it has nothing to do with the markets. We'll tell you what it was next on 95.7 FM. It wasn't quite the Houston-Florida game last night, but there was a big winner and a big loser when it comes to the political scene. The Supreme Court ruling yesterday that Donald Trump can use a 1798 wartime immigration law to immediately deport Venezuelan nationals.
That old thing's still on the books.
Yeah, I know. That pesky thing from the 1700s. Oh, you mean like the Constitution? Of course, Donald Trump has been working hard, and the administration with Tom Homan has been working hard to remove especially gang members of the Tren de Agua gang that has been terrorizing communities around the country. And amazingly, you had lower courts try to pause the duly elected president of the United States on this front. But justices yesterday at the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 to grant the administration's request to lift the stay in what is now being called a temporary victory for the president of the United States and his allies. So at issue was the Aliens Enemies Act, or the immigration law passed by Congress in 1789 to immediately remove certain migrants from U.S. soil. Prior to Trump's second White House term, it had only been invoked 3 times in U.S. history, during the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II.
Do we still have one of the original senators in office, I think? Maybe.
Yep. Well, I see him getting wheeled out of the
I'm kind of wondering.
Capitol every day, it seems like. There's a new one in a wheelchair. So who knows? McConnell comes to mind. Grassley. I mean, my gosh, there's a lot of them that are sitting out there. Way too old for this stuff. So lawyers for the Trump administration urged the court to vacate the lower court ruling, arguing in a Supreme Court filing that the lower court orders rebuffed their immigration agenda, including their ability to protect the nation against foreign terrorist organizations and risk debilitating effects for delicate foreign negotiations. The Supreme Court did the right thing. This is a no-brainer. If you can have appointed judges preventing the president of the United States, who is duly elected, from using his powers as the chief executive when he is trying to do things like remove gang members from the country who are not here legally. If we're now going to have nameless, faceless judges preventing the United States from doing that, then what do we have exactly? Why do we even show up to the polls every 4 years if the president cannot do simple things like this? So this was a big-time win for the White House last night, and it came down, I guess it was sometime in the 5 o'clock hour, because Brett Baer of Fox News broke it on his show.
We're getting some breaking news at this hour coming out of the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed President Trump a victory, letting him and his administration use the 1798 law that historically has been employed only in wartime to swiftly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members as part of the Republican president's hardline approach to immigration. Granting that administration request to lift the Washington-based U.S. judge James Boasberg's March 15th order that had temporarily blocked the summary deportations under the Alien Enemies Act while litigation in the case continues. So the Supreme Court has weighed in.
Okay, now this does not mean it's a done deal, by the way. There are going to be more legal battles on this. But step back for a second and set all that aside. Ask yourself this. Okay? Whether you voted for Trump or not. Ask yourself whether or not you are truly interested on being on the side of those who are fighting the duly elected president in court on his attempt to remove gang members from other countries who are here illegally from our country. Just at its core, ask yourself which side of that you want to be on. Don't get in the weeds. Don't say, yeah, but I don't know if this is legally correct, and I'm not sure that the president should be doing that. Just sit that all aside for a second. Ask yourself, do you want to be on the side of the illegal alien gang members or the duly elected president of the United States, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, and this administration? Even if you didn't vote for him, just in this specific instance, ask yourself which side you want to be on. And ask yourself from a political perspective, which side you think you would want to defend here. If we are going to have one of our two major political parties pursuing an attempt to keep people in the country who are hardened criminals and who in many cases are gang members in our country under the name of alleged due process, I'm not sure you learned anything from November 5th and the results of November 5th, John.
Let's be clear what we're up against. A Maryland man is not the same thing as a man in Maryland. So we have that obfuscation going up. We're up against a man who was in Maryland who was a member of this, not a Maryland man. And also, it's interesting that they're wanting a court case. Well, they need a court case. They needed it when they came into the country.
Yeah.
So if you want to be interested in litigation, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's figure out how we got here to begin with and how many court cases and different appointments may have been missed that led us to this point in the first place. But we don't want to go down that road now, do we? So this is something that if this comes back into the forefront of the conversation, and I know that all the buzz this week is tariffs this, markets that, and trust me, we will get to a lot of that coming up on KCMO. But if this immigration issue does become front and center, it has been one of the strongest policy items that Trump and his administration has pursued over these first 2.5 months. He should bring this topic back to the forefront of the conversation. Here is what I'm doing. Here's what the Supreme Court is temporarily, for now, allowing me to do. Here's why I think it's important. What say you, America? As the great Bill O'Reilly would say. What say you? That's what Trump and, frankly, those who are part of his administration, who are on TV and making the media rounds on a regular basis, this is one of those issues they get a huge win on, they get major positive marks on, and they have got to bring this back to the forefront of the conversation to stack up some wins here in the short term. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, let's talk about something that happened in Jackson County yesterday and what it means for you and your property taxes, plus the big event coming up on KCMO we have details on next. Well, the tickets officially went on sale this morning, and that is our event coming up on Thursday, June 12th, the first 147 of 47. See what we did there? 147 days of Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States. We will have Fox News' Guy Benson in Kansas City. We will be down at Boulevard in their private room on Thursday, June 12th. I'll be there with Kevin Keatsman as well for a show, dinner, drinks, and a great time. And you can buy your tickets now at KCMOTalkRadio.com. Once again, that's KCMOTalkRadio.com. We'll have about 200 folks out there. Tickets are on sale this week for the event, and we look forward to seeing many of you out there for what will be photo opportunities, dinner, complimentary wine, Boulevard beers program, take-home pint glass. It is going to be an outstanding time. If nothing else, you got to come for the take-home pint glass. That's a pretty good deal right there. So get your tickets now. They are on sale this week at KCMOTalkRadio.com. It will be the first link that you see, and we look forward to seeing many of you out there for what will be our big event of 2025 here on KCMO. Guy Benson's excited. He's already asking me to take him to the Royals-Yankees game the night before, so I'm trying to make that work for him, and the Royals better win that one because I cannot stand the New York Yankees. I'll just leave it at that. So it's going to be a great time. It just so happened the Yankees are going to be in town that week. That was just luck of the draw. It wasn't planned that way. I promise you that. Now, back here in Jackson County, we've got, obviously, this property tax debacle that we are monitoring. And what you had last week was a judge rule that, listen, these assessments have to be rolled back in Jackson County. They got to come back to a maximum of a 15% increase versus the 50, 60, 70, 100% increases that some people saw across the county. So yesterday there was a 5-4 vote from the Jackson County Legislature. They passed an ordinance to direct the county staff to implement the order from the State Tax Commission to retroactively decrease more than 200,000 assessed values from 2023. It will shock you to learn that Frank White, on this critical day in the history of Jackson County, was nowhere to be found.
Talk about a bombshell.
What?
I know. He can't even blame this one on a Monarchs game. They haven't started playing yet. But Frank White was MIA for this historic day in Jackson County. Now, the bad news is this. The vote only passed 5-4. So that means if Frank vetoes this ordinance, well, they need one of those 4 no votes to come across the aisle to the yes side to override Frank White's veto, to comply with an order from the State Tax Commission. Think about this. 4 of your legislators voted to not implement an order from the State Tax Commission saying that you must roll back some of these assessments across Jackson County, basically all the assessments that came in over 15%.
Thank you for reiterating that, too.
Yeah, it needs to be reiterated as much as we can. And we will do that all morning long. This barely passed. Now, yes, politics does sometimes make strange bedfellows. You have our buddy Sean Smith, who, of course, led the way on this, and Manny Abarca was on his side. I trust me, I know. That is a shocker of all shockers, but once again, a broken clock is right twice a day, I guess, and that would be the case for legislator Manny Abarca. But you have people on this county legislature that are just backing Frank White blindly. They will do whatever Frank White asks them to do, which is just insane based on how this whole process has played out when it comes to your assessments. And we are weeks away from your 2025 assessments getting rolled out, and we have not even concluded the debacle that is the 2023 assessments. Think about that. So Sean Smith spoke to Channel 9 yesterday, and here's what he told KMBC.
In a few weeks, we're going to be sending out assessment notices, and many of those assessment notices will be in error.
Yeah, they'll be in error because they're going to be based off of the 2023 assessments, which we now know, based on the Missouri State Tax Commission, has basically been deemed illegitimate. So it's like, what are you doing? Now, you had a couple hundred people show up to a rally outside of the courthouse yesterday, and that rally was to basically help to promote the recall of Frank White. So that's a good sign. Had about 150, 200 folks show up to that. That's fantastic. But once again, they're not quite there yet. And that's going to take time. That doesn't do anything for the here and now. The here and now is these assessments are coming out for 2025. The 2023 assessments were deemed illegitimate by the Missouri State Tax Commission. And you have a Jackson County legislature that may not allow the Missouri State Tax Commission decision to hold up. They may want to fight this thing in court further. So you could end up with 2025 assessments coming to your front door while the 2023 assessments are in flux. And then there was this statement to Channel 9 from Megan Marshall of the County Commission. She has been skeptical of the Missouri State Tax Commission. Here's what she told Channel 9.
It has the propensity to cause confusion.
Skeptics of the ordinance say there needs to be more collaboration between leaders and stakeholders.
It's a great start.
but I think that there's an opportunity to make it better where it has a lasting effect.
There's an opportunity to make it better?
What?
No. You don't understand. As a county, you had a chance to do right by the taxpayer 2 years ago. And you guys screwed the whole thing up. But I'm speaking, of course, about the entire body of the legislature from Frank White on down. You don't get to sit here 2 years later and say, you know what we need to do? We need to perfect this and make this better. You have screwed the people at every turn. That's what this Jackson County legislature has done. You've screwed the people at every turn. It took the state of Missouri. It took the state tax commission. It took the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey. It took Scott Fitzpatrick, the state auditor, to basically do right by the citizens of Jackson County and stop the screw job. And now you've got people who are like, I don't know if we can really go about it this way because we want to make it better. No, you don't.
I'm getting pissed now.
You have no interest in making it better. Because if you wanted to make it better, you would have done that 2 years ago. These people are crooked as the day is long. And they should all, outside of a couple, Sean Smith comes to mind, and maybe you could convince me on one or two more. They should all be thrown out of office. Every single one of them for this embarrassment that has been the assessment process in Jackson County, Missouri. It is an utter joke. And these are unserious people with unserious answers and solutions to serious problems that are resulting in people getting kicked out of their homes. They can't afford to pay their property tax bill. They're spending hours upon hours and a lot of money to try to remedy and right the wrongs of their own government. And their own county government is basically telling them to pound sand and give us a little more time. It's been 2 years. How much more time do you goofballs want? I thought this homeowner put it very well yesterday to Channel 9.
I went through 3 appeals. They're as crooked as it gets, and they need to answer for it, and they simply need to follow the court order.
They need to follow the court order from the Missouri State Tax Commission. This is very simple. Yesterday was a step in the right direction, but it was nothing to celebrate. Nothing to celebrate. Because a 5-4 vote doesn't do you any good if Frank White vetoes this. And you and I both know he's going to veto this. And those who voted against this ordinance to follow the Missouri State Tax Commission, Megan Marshall, who we just played, Charlie Franklin, Jalen Anderson, 3 Democrats, and Republican Jeannie Lauer. It's like a law firm. The law firm of Marshall, Franklin, Anderson, and Lauer.
Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, right?
Definitely do not want to be hiring them for any of your needs anytime soon. Give me Jungle Law over that law firm. My gosh. Nailed it there, my man Bill O'Reilly. 7:24, good morning. Markets open up in 1 hour. And Bill's right. Imagine being at a protest because you don't want to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. Oh, I know, but oh my gosh, doom and gloom. Everyone's going to get laid off from the federal workforce. No. Stop watching Rachel Maddow. Do yourself a favor. It'll be good for your health. Nothing funny. You got to look at that bowl haircut all day. It's what are you getting out of it? You can't tell Rachel Maddow apart from Chris Hayes. They look like the same person. Just don't waste your time anymore. Come on now. Please do yourself a favor here. Get some laughs. Just stream us all day on KCMO Talk Radio. That's all you got to do right on the app. It's easy. Unbelievable. So the markets will open up in 1 hour, and right now it's looking all in the green. Dow futures are up 1,000 points. NASDAQ's up 2.5% as well. Same with the S&P. Doesn't mean it's going to end up green. You have no idea how this roller coaster of a market is going to play out right now. So I'm not sitting here saying, rah, rah, look at the markets. It's just that's where things are at right now with an hour to go until the markets open up. But it's fascinating because so many of the folks who were predicting doom and gloom yesterday, well, it didn't come to fruition. Jim Cramer, Mad Money, CNBC. I mean, the guy's made a living off of being wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been wrong. If you make predictions and opinions for a living, you will be wrong. And you're better off being wrong than riding the fence. But Cramer, he's been wrong on some of the biggest things he's had to predict in his life. This guy was saying buy Lehman Brothers back in September of 2008. That's one of his most notorious predictions. So even on Friday of this past week, he was predicting yesterday would turn out to be like a Black Monday. 1987, markets crashed 20%. That's what he was all in on his show on Friday after the markets closed when he said this. And a shocker to know that after yesterday came to an end, well, guess what? He was wrong.
The president doesn't try to reach out and reward these countries and companies that play by the rules in the 1987 scenario, the one where we went down 3 days and then down 22% on Monday, has the most cogency. We will not have to wait out too long, will we? We'll know by Monday. Fortunately, we had an excellent set of employment numbers today. At least it makes it less likely a crash will necessarily lead to a recession. But if President Trump stays intransigent and does nothing to ameliorate the damage that I saw these last 2 days, I'm not going to be constructive here. I will contain my anger, but only because I lived through 87, and in the end, I came out okay. I was in cash for the crash. I know what this feels like. Oh, and if Europe moves against our fabulous tech companies next week, then I will be furious. That I promise you, because it should not happen.
There's something wrong with them.
Yeah. That was Jim Cramer on Friday. Now, the markets actually closed up a couple hundred points yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and say that means everything is great. It's not. We know it's going to go down. It's going to go up. People are trying to figure out what exactly these tariffs are going to mean. But Cramer was wrong. Not the first time. Certainly won't be the last time. Got to do it. If I'm in Kansas City this morning and I'm going to the polls, I am voting on this sales tax extension for public safety infrastructure to get a new jail in Kansas City, Missouri proper, which this city has not had in a decade and desperately needs. Now, I have seen some of the texts this morning on the text line over the last couple of hours, and I wanted to address some of them for the first time this morning because I think you are giving the politicians an excuse if you vote no on this sales tax extension today in Kansas City. I've gotten a lot of texts, and they've said, Pete, I see and read this ballot measure today to extend this public safety infrastructure tax, but it says nothing about a jail. Now, city leaders have made it very clear that this quarter-cent sales tax would be used to fund a new jail in Kansas City. Over the last 15, 20 years, it's been used to refurbish a bunch of the police headquarters around the city. They put up the new training facility up north. That's what it's been used for. And people have texted in this morning and they've said, hey, there's nothing in this ballot language specifically that says this money is going to be used for a jail. But it does talk about it being used for public safety infrastructure. Could they finagle that? Could they do something? I guess if you want to be a total pessimist, they could. And trust me, I understand wanting to be a pessimist when you talk about politics in Kansas City. I totally get that. But at a time when this town has seen record homicide rates year after year after year, I'm not going to give the city, the council, the police department, the prosecutor, I'm not going to give any of these people any more excuses to be able to say, well, we don't have a jail. We got to ship them out to Johnson County, Missouri and Vernon County. And if only we had a jail, things might get a little bit better. If you want to be the eternal pessimist, I suppose you can vote no because you don't trust the politicians to do right with the money that you're giving them. That's way too pessimistic for me. I'm voting yes on this. I would vote yes on this if I was a resident. And I would be saying, you know what? I'm done giving the politicians any excuses. And it's time to just say, hey, put your money where your mouth is. Build that jail. It has been a failure for this town to not have a jail over the last 10 years. The numbers speak for themselves. Build it. Get it done. And by the way, if they don't get it done, then there's going to be major hell to pay at the ballot box potentially.
I've got an inventory issue because I note that Melissa Robinson has been busy getting to some of these issues. The Brookside Waldo guy, we've got that busted. We took care of a woman just today who was responsible for 2 people dead. 25-year sentence. Going to need some space because we're dealing with the issues now and closing it.
Yeah,
right?
And that's on Melissa Johnson to basically get these people, in jail. Arrest them, obviously. The cops do that part, and then it's on the prosecutor's office to get these people in jail.
And looks like more people are headed to jail here recently, so.
Good. You know what? Keep
Absolutely.
them coming. Keep them coming, okay? I mean, right now, the biggest problem is the offenders, the criminals, the gangsters have no fear of anybody in this town. They don't fear the cops. They've been, unfortunately, 2 hands off because they don't trust the former prosecutor, and they're probably still a little dicey on the current one. Got to build that trust over time. Doesn't happen overnight. And then on top of that, you got a situation where the prosecutor for far too long in Kansas City under Jean Peters Baker didn't do her job. Found every excuse in the book to not prosecute anybody. Except for, of course, the cops like Eric DeValcanaire. Had no problem, going after him. But anybody else, forget it. Slap him on the wrist. Call it a day. Move on. Drug charges, we don't really do that here. Beside the fact that, hey, oftentimes when you're involved in drug trafficking, it's a very good chance you could be involved in worse crimes. We don't do that around here. For far too long, that was the attitude. The jail is not going to fix it tomorrow, but it will be part of the solution. There's no doubt about it. 913-408-7957. 8:10 on a Tuesday. Tirade Tuesday is 25 minutes away. Start warming up on those tirades on KCMO. And we've got the Alabama Lee Greenwood ticket giveaway at 8:45. That is a half hour away on KCMO Talk Radio. And speaking of tickets, you can now buy tickets to our event. The first 147 of 47. See what we did there with Donald Trump, 47th President of the United States. We'll be down at Boulevard with Fox News' Guy Benson on Thursday, June 12th. Myself, Kevin Keatsman, and Guy Benson. And you can join us. Tickets are on sale now. KCMOTalkRadio.com. Only got a couple hundred folks who are coming out for the event, but you'll get a meet and greet photo with Guy Benson, the whole deal. We'll put on a show for you. You got a plated dinner, past hors d'oeuvres beforehand, wine, beer, the whole thing. It's all included as part of that ticket price. So buy your tickets now. They are on sale this week at KCMOTalkRadio.com. So that is top of mind in Kansas City today. And then in Jackson County, this is also something that Jackson County residents have to be aware of, and that is yesterday's 5-4 vote to basically comply with the court order from the Missouri State Tax Commission saying, hey, these insane tax assessments from 2023 have got to be rolled back to a maximum of a 15% increase. The 5-4 vote is good, not great. Why is that? If Frank White vetoes the ordinance that passed yesterday, well, to override the veto, they got to get a 6th vote somewhere to override Frank White's veto. And my prediction is that Frank White will veto this because he has basically done everything in his power to screw the property tax or the property owner in this county for the last couple of years on this issue. So why would he stop screwing you now? Which means that one of the 4 people that voted no yesterday will have to vote to override Frank White's veto. Who are the people that voted no yesterday? Let me get you the list here. Megan Marshall, Democrat. Charlie Franklin, Democrat. Jalen Anderson, Democrat. And Jeannie Lauer, Republican. I'm just noting that so you know it's both parties who voted no to comply with the Missouri State Tax Commission yesterday. 4 people, both parties voting no. Why? Well, here's what Meghan Marshall had to say to Channel 9.
It has the propensity to cause confusion.
Skeptics of the ordinance say there needs to be more collaboration between leaders and stakeholders.
It's a great start, but I think that there's an opportunity to make it better where it has a lasting effect.
It's a great start, but we have an opportunity to make it better. What does that mean? The whole reason we are here, the whole reason the Missouri State Tax Commission had to do anything about this is because you wouldn't do anything about this. The whole reason the state's involved is because you at the county level utterly failed your own citizens. It's a great start, but we have to be better. What does that mean? Be better how? We have to do better in what sense? I mean, you can't be better. I guess you can be better than absolutely horrific. You can't be any worse. So I guess from that perspective, anything is better. But it's just empty words. That was a Kamala Harris-esque word salad from Meghan Marshall is what that was. And the first part of it, too, is bizarre.
It has the propensity to cause confusion.
Skeptics.
Wait. Agreeing and passing an ordinance to comply with the Missouri State Tax Commission is going to cause confusion. Complying with a state order is going to cause confusion. You guys have done nothing but confuse and royally screw the citizens and the homeowners in this county for 2 years, at least. And now you want to talk about what's confusing people? The only thing confusing people right now in that commentary are the words of the politicians. They're the ones confusing people. They're the ones who are just, don't look here, look there. It's all deflection is what they're doing.
Propensity was on her word of the day calendar, I think.
It's like Bill O'Reilly. He's got his word of the day.
Yeah.
Apparently that was on her list there. It is such an embarrassment what this county is doing to its citizens. And there was a rally yesterday to push forward with the Recall Frank White effort. About 200 people showed up in Independence outside of the courthouse. That is a step in the right direction, but it still is far from being a done deal. But you're going to have Jackson County residents getting their 2025 assessments in the weeks ahead based on the 2023 numbers. And that's why the legislature has to get this done now. There is no time. You guys had 2 years. You couldn't get it done. You screwed your citizens. And now the state's involved, and you're like, well, this is going to cause more confusion. How can there be more confusion caused by what's happened in this county the last couple of years? You can't get more confused than what this county has done over the last couple of years. It's pathetic. And now they want to further kick the can down the road because they don't care about you. Let's be very clear. That list, Meghan Marshall, Charlie Franklin, Jalen Anderson, Jeannie Lauer, they don't care about you. And that is a bipartisan group of people in this county. 913-408-7957. They are fine with you getting screwed, getting priced out of your own home that you may own outright. To what? Protect Frank White? What photos does he have on them? That's the other question I've got here. Just sitting here 24 hours after the markets were swinging 2,500 points in the span of 30 minutes. Right now, the Dow is up 1,400 points. That's 4%. All the major indices up 3.5% to 4%. S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow all having big starts 35 minutes into trading. Now, I will not sit here and say like this means told you so. No. Please, don't do that. It's not worth it. I saw some of Donald Trump's most ardent supporters on X yesterday when the markets went from down 1,500 to like up 1,000, being like, it's all turning, guys. This is great. It's like, wait, guys, 10 minutes ago you were telling me that this is bigger than the markets. You can't then brag about the markets when it breaks your way. Pump the brakes, fellas.
Well, we were talking yesterday, and I likened it to quarterbacker Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball, right? And now people are going, oh, no, he let go of it. He has to let go of it to throw the ball, right? Oh, no, only 3 things happen, and 2 are bad. It's going to be picked off or it's going to be incomplete. No, let the asphalt first.
Yeah, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
It's not about what the market does today. It's not about what the market does tomorrow or next week. That has to be the approach. If you're going to roll with Trump on this, as I am and many of you are, you can't then brag when the markets go up and then be like, well, it doesn't matter when the markets go down. The markets are not basically the judge of Main Street. You can't pick and choose when you want it to cut in your favor. So the markets are up today. That's great. But it doesn't mean necessarily that the markets now love tariffs, right? It just means that we are on this roller coaster ride that nobody can predict. There will be another really bad day, I would say, this week because the markets are going to tank when the tariffs officially go into place, whether it's the reciprocal tariffs from China or our tariffs that begin here this week. Whatever it is, there will be another really bad day. Today's a good day. It's how this is going to go for a while.
Not all passes are complete, but when Patrick wound up and threw the jet chip wasp in Super Bowl 54, oh, no, he let go of the ball. Well, it came down to Tyreek Hill, didn't it?
Well,
and the rest is history.
And I would say this much as well, you know, to use your quarterback analogy, John.
I'm going to wear it out, so go ahead.
Okay. I also trust who the quarterback is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I will take Patrick Mahomes as our quarterback throwing the ball right now than the last guy who was like Tyler Palko. So I will take my chances here as well. I think who the quarterback is throwing that Hail Mary matters.
Yep.
And I will roll with Donald Trump is as Patrick Mahomes is in that analogy versus Joe Biden being Tyler Palko. So there you go.
Thank you.
I think that that puts the quarterback conversation to rest for now, at least.
Clarify that,
the next quarterback analogy comes into the show. But what's amazing to me is the biggest story yesterday on the tariff front did not impact the markets. So this came yesterday from Donald Trump on Truth Social. The president posted, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, that's today, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. That's tomorrow. So we, of course, added tariffs to China. China responds. They say, we're increasing our tariffs 34%. Trump says, if you don't remove it by Tuesday, I'm hitting you with another 50% starting Wednesday. So this is full-blown trade war. No matter who you voted for, we've all got to be on the same page. That China's screwing us on not just when it comes to trade in general, intellectual property, a lot of issues with China. Obviously, a global superpower trying to take over America for that number one spot. But there's also this day-to-day trade war happening. And the markets didn't budge. Considering the markets have been so jittery and swinging based off of Donald Trump's Truth Social post left and right, this one was one that kind of just didn't do anything, didn't have any impact. And that was shocking to me because to me, that was the biggest story yesterday. And by the end of the day, nobody was talking about it. I mean, I flipped on. I usually don't do this, but I got home and late afternoon, I flip on CNBC. I watched their post-market show. I put on Jim Cramer to know what exactly I should not be doing with my investments. And I'm seeing if this topic would come up at all. Never did. And it's like, this was the biggest story of the day. This should have been the thing that if it was going to have an impact on the markets, would have had an impact on the markets. And it did not move the needle. And that leads me to believe that we are in such an emotional trading time, the actual news is arguably getting missed. And the markets also are not just reacting off of, like, the tariff concerns. We also may be at a point where the markets and the investors or the investor class finally believes that things are maybe oversold. They may be not thinking this is the bottom, but guessing that we are approaching the bottom, and now there's value to get back into the game. And as much as anything else, that may be what's going on here. Because the last 3-4 days, what you've seen is a lot of retail investors, meaning folks like you and I, get into the markets and buy. Whereas the institutional buyers, the hedge funds, they're the ones who are loading up on cash right now. Now, you know, we're all playing different games here. If you're just like me and you're buying some Apple stock to hold for 30 years, well, you don't have to deal with the ebbs and the flows. So you can feel pretty good about the fact that that investment will be up big time over the next 3 decades. But these institutional buyers, they're on a whole nother playing field. They're doing things that, frankly, we should not even consider doing. And that's fine. It's totally fine. But now the institutional buyers might be in a place, as of this morning, where they're dipping their toes back in. Because the Dow's up pushing now 1,500 points. It keeps going up here. I'm looking at it right now live on Fox Business, and it just continues to move up this morning. Doesn't mean it's going to end the day up. We know what the last week or two has been like here. But it at least means that as of this morning, there's reason for some investor optimism. And it helps yesterday when Netanyahu is over at the White House, of course, from Israel, and he's talking about how, hey, I'm going to play ball by President Trump's rules.
I can tell you that I said to the president a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. And I think that's basically the position that you have put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs, and rapidly.
So that's Bibi at the White House yesterday, and old Vlad Zelensky could take a cue or two from how Netanyahu handles himself in the White House, right? I mean, my gosh. Come on, put on a suit, show a little respect, understand that you need the United States, and everything's going to go fine for you, okay? But don't show up in your little, black suit getup or little black outfit and then be disrespectful to the country that's basically keeping you afloat over there in Eastern Europe. So Bibi gets it. He understands the game. And I know that obviously many supporters do as well. On the text line, this is from Dan. Pete, I'm definitely rolling with Trump here. Would I prefer that we had a more temperate president to guide us through the reshaping of the world economy? I would, but Trump is the only man strong enough to withstand the combined forces of the Democrat Party and the news media. My faith is in him right now. And listen, if you believe that the Republican Party has an opportunity to rebuild the middle class and reshape the political arena for a generation to come, then you've got to ride on this thing. You can't do the same old, same old. You can't just look at the stock market as an indicator of success, because if that was the case, Kamala Harris would be cackling her way through the West Wing right now. And she's not. And it's because the stock market is not what makes people feel good, or at least the vast majority of Americans feel good about their own economic situation. When 10% of the stocks are owned, or 88% of the stocks are owned by 10% of the population, you cannot use the stock market as your barometer for economic success as a country. You will simply just create a larger gap between the rich and the poor, and the middle class will get hollowed out. Because either they'll get rich, but more likely than not, many of them are going to end up on the other side and then need government assistance to stay afloat. And you tell me, you know the answer. Which party benefits when the government grows? Which party benefits when more people need a hand out from the federal government? 913-408-7957. It's 9:15. We'll get to our caller of the day at the bottom of the hour. And a great event that you want to join us for. We have the details coming up next on 95.7 FM. A lot of people are going to be unhappy that these markets are on fire. I'm not doing a happy dance over it. I mean, I always like when things go up, but I'm not naive enough to think that it means that, we're out of the woods on this stuff yet. It's just how it's going to go here for likely several days, if not several weeks, until things settle down a bit. Jim's in Blue Springs. What's up, Jim? You're on KCMO.
Yeah, I think another reason why the market people, and even the conservative ones, are mad, or they're in trouble with the margin calls. their family members or their people that they're trading for. Margin calls are pretty much you're buying on your value of your existing stock, and then you're just counting on it keep going up where you can make your payments on it basically. And when it goes down like 20%, I think that's when some of the calls start kicking in, and you got to come up with cash or sell everything.
Yeah. Phone's a bit spotty there, Jim, but you're right. Listen, there's a lot of gambling going on right now. It's not just about people, hey, I see some value in Tesla. I see some value in Apple or Meta or Google. It's not just that. There's a lot of betting happening in the markets, which is what you're referring to there in part, right? Or people who are betting on the markets going down. Right, you can hedge yourself in the markets by buying puts and actually make money on the way down. So that way, if you lose money on your investments, you can figure out a way to try to make some of that back in the short term, of course. It's a short-term hedge. So, like, whether it's Dave Portnoy, the Barstool founder, who we played earlier in the morning, who was, bemoaning the fact that he's down 15 to 20% of his net worth, $20 million is what he estimated. He is off in the markets the last few days. Like, that dude is just day trading. And that's fine. I mean, just know what you're getting into here. Dave Portnoy is an amateur day trader, and it's costing him millions of dollars. The average person is not doing that right now. The average person is not rolling with the ebbs and the flows in the market. And I would challenge anybody who insists that they're upset they voted for Trump because their portfolio's down like 5%. You're telling me now you'd actually go out there and vote for Kamala Harris if you could do it all over again? Like, really? I have a hard time believing that person exists on April 8th. Now, if we're sitting here in a year and the tariff situation has not been straightened out, and we're sitting here in a year and there's like a recession and there's double-digit unemployment and Trump misplayed this, then totally different story. But you can't with a straight face tell me that's the case right now. I would just be shocking to me if that person exists. Yeah, I'll vote for the person who is like all about, open borders and 17 genders and the whole thing. I'll do that because my portfolio is off 5%. Come on now. You got to be kidding me. Now, I just saw this list, a study on the top 10 most American-made cars. This is from KellyBlueBook.com. It just shared by Elon Musk on X. And it wasn't GM, not Ford, not Stellantis. In fact, Honda and Volkswagen proved to be more American than the big three American automakers. Very proud of our partnership with Volkswagen Lease Summit. We have an Atlas and a Tiguan. They're both great cars. And they are more American-made. But here you go. The top 10 most American-made cars that will be able to obviously dodge these tariffs.
Number 10. There you go, Jim.
There you go.
Number 1. Yeah.
All right. Number 1, the Tesla Model Y. Number 2, the Tesla Model 3. Number 3, the Tesla Model X. Number 4, the Tesla Model S. You got a theme here, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, the Honda Passport. Number 6, the Volkswagen ID4. Number 7, the Honda Odyssey. Number 8, the Acura MDX. Number 9, the Honda Ridgeline. And number 10, the Acura RDX. So that's the top 10 for you. And you got to go fairly far down the list to find the big three here in the U.S. who made a fairly poor showing. Ford's highest position is number 16 with the Lincoln Corsair small SUV. General Motors' first appearance is at number 19 with the Chevy Corvette. And Stellantis does not even make the top 20 with the Dodge Durango coming in at number 21. So, it goes to show you, if your thought is, well, we want to bring, of course, some jobs back to America. We want to make sure that America has strength around the world as it's trading around the world. And you're going to see the big three get a big boost. Now, the big three may very well get a big boost, obviously. That's the goal here. We want them all to do more business in the United States when it comes to, making and manufacturing. But you also look at some of these other car companies who are doing a lot of their work right here in the United States. Tesla, Honda, Volkswagen, Acura, all in those top 10s. And that is darn impressive.